Hey everybody, I am Goose and you're watching On With The Show. And on today's podcast, we're going to talk about the craziness that's going on right now with one of Twitch's favorite streamers, Hasan Piker. Yes, just to give you a little bit of heads up, I'm not really into Twitch. I know of Hasan Piker from some of the things I've seen from him on the news, from people who have talked about him over to YouTube, because I'm more of a YouTube kind of YouTube and, you know, X kind of guy, Instagram, but I'm not someone that like flies over to Kick or Twitch or anything. But apparently Hasan Piker's life has been turned upside down from one little trip to Cuba. So we're going to get into that. Let me switch on over to the OBS and we're going to get on with the show. And here we go. The headline from USA Today, written by Finch Walker today, actually, the 27th of May, says here, Hasan Piker subpoenaed by U.S. government a month after event with Pennsylvania Rep. Lee, or PA Rep. Lee. It goes on to say here a little more than a month after he appeared at a campaign event in Michigan with Congresswoman Summer Lee, Democrat, Pennsylvania, leftist Twitch streamer Hasan Piker was subpoenaed by the U.S. Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control over his March trip to Cuba, according to multiple reports. Piker, who goes by Hasan Abi on the streaming platform Twitch, where he has 3.1 million followers, was subpoenaed alongside Medea Benjamin, co-founder of the feminist anti-war nonprofit Code Pink, Women for Peace, according to a May 23rd report from Fox News. On May 23rd, X repost of the outlet's article, Piker slammed the move. The American government would rather try to criminalize delivering aid to a country we've starved than punish the Epstein class, he said. The report came a little more than a month after the Los Angeles-based streamer appeared alongside Lee and a number of other speakers at a campaign event for U.S. Senate candidate Abdul El-Sayed at the University of Michigan. Matter of fact, I saw an interview Sayed did with Will Kane, which was absolutely insane. I mean, they just, I find that, for just quick side note, I find it funny whenever someone from the left sits there and goes, we need to have an honest conversation. Whenever they say we need to have an honest conversation, it means they don't care what you have to say. You have to listen to what they have to say, and you have to agree with them. That's how the code works. Honest conversation is not really an honest conversation. Anyway, I digress. Let's get back to the article. Lee's appearance with Piker drew backlash from her Jewish colleagues and Stand With Us pro-Israel advocacy organization, with all condemning Piker as anti-Semitic. Lee was elected in 2022 to Pennsylvania's 12th district, which covers a large part of Pittsburgh, including Squirrel Hill, a historically Jewish community. She won the Democrat primary for the seat on May 19th, beating her challenger, William Parker. Now, here's the user. Who is Hasan Piker? Well, let me get it right there. Piker is, for some reason, my page is frozen. Piker, a Turkish-American leftist Twitch streamer who commentates on political topics. And there goes. You gotta love things when you go doing live. Has drawn ire from both sides of the aisle. His streams, he often says he is opposed to Zionism but defends the rights of Jewish people. But both Democrats and Republicans have slammed him as anti-Semitic. He's made a number of inflammatory comments saying that America deserved 9/11 and telling live stream viewers that it doesn't matter if R happened on October 7th. It doesn't change the dynamic for me. Let that sink in for a minute. Let me just get that for a minute. It doesn't matter if R happened, and you know what I mean when I say R, happened on October 7th. It doesn't change the dynamic for me, which my immediate thing would be, oh, then you're for R. I mean, that would be my first thing to ask him. Well, you must be for it then. Which I'm sure he would say, no, that's not what I mean. That's not what I mean. And then he'd have to kind of clarify what he means by that. Piker has also faced government scrutiny before. In May 2025, he said was stopped and questioned by U.S. Customs and Border Patrol at Chicago's O'Hare International Airport following a trip to France, according to NBC News. While Fox reported on May 23rd, that Piker and Benjamin had both received subpoenas seeking financial, logistical, and communications information about humanitarian trips both made to Cuba with Nuestra America convoy in March. Piker said on May 24th that he hadn't gotten a subpoena, according to the Huffington Post. He also said during the Twitch live stream that same day that the trip had been cleared by the Office of Foreign Assets Control beforehand. So, let's go to another article I found today about Mr. Piker. And apparently this is just, again, updated today, May 27th. Hasan Piker issues response after it's revealed he's officially under federal investigation. This is written by Tom Chapman. The popular streamer is accused of violating U.S. laws and sanctions by supporting Cuba's communist regime. And that's basically, that's the crux of what's going on here. Did he go down there to deliver supplies? Because his whole thing is, we went down and delivered supplies to needy people. And the government wants to sit there and, well, did you really do that? Or did you go down there for a little liberal, leftist, communist hootenanny to support the communist regime in Cuba? Hasan Habib Piker, I don't know why they got to put that in there, might be the darling of American left, and his Twitch channel remains one of the most subscribed, but with that, he might have painted a target on his back. We're sure most of you have heard of Piker, who recently got in trouble when he was flashbanged during an ICE protest. Yes, he went to an ICE protest. He got flashbanged. He bitched about it. Was banned from Twitch over controversial statements. Claimed he was detained in an airport speaking out against President Trump. But recently, he raised a few eyebrows when he streamed with Ashley St. Clair, the mother of Elon Musk's 13th child. That's got to be a crazy Thanksgiving dinner. It appears that Piker has found himself in yet another more trouble, this time being pulled into a federal investigation while being dubbed a Marxist political influencer. I'll get into all that at the other end of this. Amid concerns of communist propaganda, Piker was subpoenaed by the feds. Fox News reported that Piker and Pink co-founder Medea Benjamin have been grilled over a March trip to Cuba. This said to be part of a wider dragnet looking into whether U.S. organizations and leaders have been violating U.S. laws and sanctions by supposedly supporting Cuba's communist regime. Piker and Benjamin were both served administrative subpoenas by the Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control and questioned about whether they violated U.S. sanction laws through financing, coordination, delivery of goods to Cuba, including potential contacts with Cuban government personnel or entities on the island. This whole thing here is what they're looking into. They're looking into whether or not because we are still, I know that President Obama lifted that ban back when he was president, and I think it was reinstituted, in Trump's first term, I believe. And so they're looking into seeing whether or not they violated finance law by delivering or coordinating delivering goods to Cuba as part of, with the Cuban government or any others on the island. Here you see, I'm going to Cuba. I am joining the Nuestra America convoy. The pair said they went to Cuba with the Nuestra America convoy, as known as our America convoy. but are now branded as part of a global network of communist sympathizers, activists, and influencers who apparently supplied the ruling Communist Party of Cuba. By the way, just a short note, and I'll even go into this on the other side. If I don't care if you're a communist, I really don't. If you want to be a communist, more power to you. But I think that what we have all seen from people who are communists is that they're not practicing communists. They're more or less like, I'm a communist for other people, but keep your hands off my money. Right? Because they make money off of being communists. They really do. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Heading to Cuba on March 8th to 24th, the convoy included 650 delegates who came from 33 countries and 120 organizations. Alongside them were the likes of Irish musicians Kneecap. Around 40 Americans are now around 40 Americans are now under investigation and discussing it on Twitch. The 34-year-old, this is not great. I mean, this is BS, but it's still not great, and they're after your boy. They're up my butt. I'm not going to say exactly what it says. This is not great. I mean, this is BS. It's still not great, but they're after your boy. They're up my butt. Appealing to his fans, Piker added, yeah, free me, free me. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I'm about to be seemingly made an example of. Proposed mission of N8ture convoy was provided humanitarian to the likes of pediatric hospitals, as well as deliver on-the-ground reporting of the U.S. blockade. Benjamin similarly clapped back on social media, stating, taking medical supplies to pediatric hospitals in Cuba is now a crime? Saving the lives of babies is a crime? This administration is beyond grotesque. That's not what they're saying. They want to know what... I think what they want to know is to the extent of what did you take? What did you take over there? How much did you take over there? Did you take anything over there that you can't take over there? And are you bringing back anything that you can't bring back from Cuba? That's what they're basically saying. It's important to note that the OFAC subpoena isn't a crime indictment, but as an administrative action, Piker will have to provide records and information on those investigating the popular streamer. The popular streamer previously claimed the trip had been cleared with the OFAC, although he hasn't publicly revealed any proof of this communication, which would really go bode well in getting them off your back. As many cheer for Piker's freedom before anything has happened, St. Clair has also waded in, having denounced some of her MAGA ways. St. Clair shared a clip set to Britney Spears' Criminal alongside a Simpson-related caption that read, "Free, stupid, sexy Hasan." Well, if anything, let's keep on going because Hasan Piker is spilling his guts. This is on AOL. Hasan Piker admits tech mogul with ties to China funding political movements in U.S. This is by Mark Tanos. Also updated today, May 27th. Twitch streamer Hasan Piker named an American tech mogul living in China as the funder behind political movements in the United States during a recent broadcast. Piker complained that federal agents were targeting him before telling viewers during Monday live stream titled "Feds Are After Me" that the real target of a Treasury Department probe is tech mogul Neville Roy Singham. Keep that in mind. Fox News reported the streamer named Code Pink, the Answer Coalition, and the Party for Socialism and Liberation among the groups Singham funds, the outlet reported. He's been a funding vehicle for a lot of political movements in the country, a lot of activism, Piker said, according to Fox News' Asra Nomani. In an ex-post, congressional investigators have argued for years that Singham linked groups function as political vehicles while keeping their charitable status reported. Now, this is the biggest thing that gets me. If you are a not-for-profit or a nonprofit, and you are using your money to fund activities against the American government, shouldn't you be considered treasonous? Couldn't that be? No, I can see why he's living in China. There's no way we're going to China to. I mean, I know we went to Venezuela and got the dude out, but there's no way we're going to China to violate Chinese law to get his butt out of China. This it goes on to say Singham, a tech tycoon based in Shanghai, has poured $270 million into pro-communist nonprofits since 2017. Fox News Digital previously reported the House Committee in February identified Singham as a donor with allegedly close ties to the Chinese government party. Piker's remarks came after Fox News reported that the Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control had served him and Pink co-founder Medea Benjamin with administrative subpoenas because of their March trip to Cuba. The agency is examining whether participants potentially violated U.S. sanctions through the financing, coordination, or delivery of goods. That's all they're looking into. They're trying to figure out that when they went to Cuba, was there any sort of financing, coordination? Did you deliver things you're not supposed to deliver? Because we still have the laws where we're not supposed to be doing any trade with Cuba. We still have that. But let's go into some of these videos here, talking about Piker and his trip to Cuba. Let's go to this Instagram.
Hasan Piker, he was in Cuba with the morons over at Code Pink, doing some true poverty tourism. Hasan Piker is also staying at a 5-star hotel in Cuba, which he says is his moral duty. He must stay at a 5-star hotel.
The government has very limited resources, and the American government makes it illegal for Americans to stay wherever they want when they're in Cuba. They have to stay in what they've declared as 5-star hotels.
Is that how it works, you schmuck? Cosplaying communism while staying at a 5-star hotel wearing $1,500 glasses. By the way, it's not even true.
So that's from the official Ben Shapiro page on Instagram, to which I then found this on another page.
Hasan Piker is a fraud and a liar. He's a communist millionaire that exploits people and poor Cubans. I'm in Cuba, and this is the real Cuba, where people live constantly without light and electricity. We are in a neighborhood outside of central Havana.
Aquí llevamos décadas sin electricidad, sin agua. Como pueden ver, tengo niños, los mosquitos en la madrugada, que tienen muchas enfermedades, con un basurero tan cerca, ¿entiendes? Y eso es lo que sucede, pero esto no viene de ahora, esto viene desde que tengo uso de razón. Tenemos todos estos problemas.
He also said that the government made him stay in 5-star hotels. No, as a tourist from the United States, you're supposed to be staying here in these houses with the locals and living like the Cubans used to understand the reality better.
Hasan Piker, if you're such a righteous person and a true communist, you need to come down here with your salary that you make off exploiting people and doing streams and donate your salary one by one to all these people that live here and need your help. They're waiting for you. If you're a true communist, that's what you'll do.
Yeah, he ain't going to do that. That's from Luis Mario Ochoa on his Instagram page, which I'm going to start following. I'm going to follow him as soon as I finish this podcast today. But here's the thing. That's one of the things that people have been complaining about, Hasan Piker, is that he likes to sit there and flaunt how he's a communist and how he, and yet when it comes to his communist beliefs, they pretty much stop at his wallet. He wants you to be, to donate and to help the Cuban people, but him, no. Anyway, the funny thing was, and this one is from a Reddit page, Agnostic Scholars. When I got this one because it does talk about him staying at the 5-star hotel, but I got this because I cannot get the image of him drinking his little coffee cup. I have my coffee cup right here. See how big this coffee cup? Watch this video and see how big or how little his coffee cup is.
I was saying, tourism is the lifeline for the Cuban economy as it stands currently. The government has very limited resources, and the American government makes it illegal for Americans to stay wherever they want when they're in Cuba. They have to stay in what they've declared as 5-star hotels. Right?
Look at that little cup.
Like, even the 5-star hotels are not like
a little cup.
They're it's not like it's what the American government has declared 5-star hotels. But regardless, in comparison to the situation on the island, it's prosperity pretty much.
Oh,
And
something happened with the stream.
economy is like definitely fucked me up. Definitely.
Look at that little cup. Look at that little cup.
If I were to ever, I mean, not ever, but like I hope.
Look at that little cup of him holding right there.
Not abide by the American restrictions.
So it's a big old show for him. You know, if he really, really wanted to show the plight of the Cuban people, wouldn't he like sit there and go, no, I want to do my live stream from down there, from down where, you know, all the people are suffering. No, he's in a 5-star hotel doing his live stream, having nice little cappuccino or espresso coffees and putting his little pinky up like this. If I were to do it next time, I wouldn't do it with the American restrictions of Cuba. Oh, give me a break, dude. Give me a friggin' break. It is no wonder that you are being subpoenaed for all of your records for this little trip that you took. This little trip you took to Cuba to help. I'm going to close this out. I'm going to close up the OBS. I'm going to talk about this on the other side and give you my opinions of this whole thing. So just hold on. So, yes, Hasan Piker and Medea Benjamin they're been subpoenaed by the government for their activities in Cuba. They're trying to see if they had broken any laws. They're also, I guess right now, since Piker is now singing that Singham is the one that's funding all this, that they're going to have to figure out, if this is a tech mogul, an American tech mogul, obviously, you know, he's committed treason. And that's probably the why, like I said, he's in, Shanghai right now. He's in China. There's no way Singham's going to come back to the United States, because as soon as he steps onto American soil, he's going to be arrested for treason. But the whole thing was a show. It was a giant show. You know, I'm sure that they did deliver supplies to hospitals and, you know, to feed people and to help babies and children. I'm sure that they actually did that. But this whole thing that he's doing is a giant show. The thing, you know, if you really, really wanted to show the plight of the Cuban people, why didn't you stay with the Cuban people? Why are you holed up in your 5-star hotel room drinking your little cup of espresso and you're picking up and you go, Yes, I would definitely change, and then blaming it on the American policies. I mean, I didn't even know that Americans could actually travel to Cuba. All I've heard most of my entire life is the fact that Cuba was like off limits, even for traveling. That they didn't really want you to go to Cuba because then they would actually see what was actually going on in Cuba, all the craziness and all, and that's one of the things about communists that I have a hard. I mean, if you want to be a communist, go for it. That's your thing. If you want to believe in that, but the problem is with most communists, they don't even believe in the things they spout, right? They want to sit there and say, eat the rich. Oh, but not me, because I'm not rich. Yes, I'm a millionaire. Yes, I'm a multimillionaire. Yes, I have more money than most people. But we're talking about the uber rich, the billionaires. We want to eat them. Let's eat until, which makes you just a giant hypocrite. It makes you a giant, because you are rich. You're richer than most of the world with your multi-million dollars, sitting in front of a computer, streaming live to all of your millions of followers. So I'm sure that not all of them are watching you at the same time. I'm sure that I'm sure there are times when people don't even watch me all the time. I don't freak out about that. I don't live stream because it's not something that I'm interested in doing. I know people say, well, why don't you do it? You'll make more money. Okay, well, it's just not something I do. It's not something I do. Because mostly whenever I've seen people who have been live streamers or streamers in general, they say something stupid and then they can't walk it back. Which is exactly what we're seeing here with Hasan Piker. You're basically a communist you've made all your money in capitalism. In other words, you espouse something that you don't even yourself support. You understand what I'm saying? If you're making all your money based on capitalism, but you're spouting communism, you can't even support the way you make your money with how you believe. Let that sink in for a minute. I have seen the people who are communists, who basically, are the ones that are self-supportive or supported in communism, are ones that used capitalism to make their money. And then let all the peasants, like Marie Antoinette once said, let all the peasants eat cake. Hasan Piker, I don't even think wants to even be down on the street of Cuba. I think he's very much stayed in his 5-star hotel, hiding out from all those grubby people down there. I don't want to be with them. Oh no. Because that would mean you would actually have to do something about it. I agree with that guy. I agree with it where he says, why don't you bring your money down here that you've made off all those live streams and help actually support the people of Cuba? Oh, wait, you won't do that. You want to be a big shot on Twitch and go around talking to, with other, pseudo celebrities in politics and go help them rather than, And like I said, me personally, do I think Hasan Piker is going to face any kind of real justice? I think if anything, if it's found that he did anything wrong with his Cuba trip, he might have to pay a fine. I don't think he's going to serve any prison time. I really don't see that. But the fact that as soon as he gets subpoenaed, he's now spilling his guts and saying that everything is supported by this tech tycoon Singham in Shanghai, and that's where it's all. That's who's actually, And I think that right there is the key to the whole pie. I don't think that made any sense, but that's the main ingredient to the whole pie. That makes it like that, because now that we know who's actually funding all of these anti-American communist things, who's actually funding Antifa and all of these protests that are going on, because trust me, they're being funded by somebody. And now we know that they're being funded by this guy Singham in Shanghai because Hasan Piker told us so. I think that's where a lot of the energy of the American government will now all of a sudden be like, these are, and I can see this backfiring in a lot of ways, because now people will sit there and say, oh, this wasn't a true protest. This isn't a true spontaneous thing that happened just out of the blue. This was planned. We've actually seen this. This was actually planned. And it's planned because it's now being funded by people who are trying to support the communists. And again, if you want to be communist, go for it. I mean, and here's the thing. I know a lot of people are not going to like this when I say this, but Hasan Piker pretty much, when he says these outrageous things like, America deserved 9/11, to me, he has the right to say it. It's in the Constitution. It's freedom of speech. I don't like that. I don't like what he said. Some people can sit there and can consider it hate speech. But he has the right to say it. I don't have to agree with it. Just like he doesn't have to agree with anything I have to say. But that's what freedom of speech is all about. And so, while I don't like the things that he said, I will fully sit there and give him all the right to say it. And that's the hard thing for me to chew. But at the same time, as as Ben Shapiro says, cosplaying communism in Cuba, is also Ben has the right to be able to say all those things too. So it's kind of a crazy economy. What do I think will happen from here? I don't know. I think that this is going to be something that's going to have to be played out. I don't think anything really much is going to come of it. But I do think that it will. The one thing I do think will happen is I do think it will probably put certain organizations on code pink. He's going to put them on notice for what they do in the future. And if what they were doing, if they were actually delivering supplies to needy, hospitals in Cuba, I mean, that I'm not going to sit there and say you can't do that. But what I am going to sit there and say is you're going to have to know who you're working with, know who you're dealing with. If you're dealing with someone who's a devout communist, you're going to get special treatment from those who don't like that kind of thing. Anyway, that's all I got to say about this for today's show. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, go down to the description, hit that subscribe button, bang the bell for notifications, bang, bang, bang that bell for notifications so you always know when a new podcast is uploaded to YouTube. Give me a big like on the video. It does help me with the algorithm, and it does tell me these are the kind of topics you do like. Share this out to your friends, family, and neighbors. Let them know what I'm doing over here with the show. And if you haven't already, give me a big comment. Let me know, what do you think is going to happen to Hasan Piker? Do you think he's going to be I don't think much is going to. I think he may have to serve. I think he's going to pay a fine if anything's found. This is definitely something that's going to be inconvenient for him to have to deal with, which I think is something that is just as good, if not better, than him having to spend any time in prison. Anytime there's an inconvenience in your life like this, I think is, that's just enough of a cause as anything else. But I would love to know what you think is going to happen to him. And if this is going to affect him in any way with his, I don't think it's going to affect anything with him. I think he's going to continue to be a doofus, and spout stupid things. And, but yeah, leave me a comment. Let me know. But with all that being said, I am Goose. You've been watching On With The Show. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all on the other side.